Dear respected Thầy, dear beloved community, today Sister Uyen Nghiem, Sister True Garden, gives a Dharma talk on the topic of fear. And my name is Sister Nghiem. I will be the translator. Dear Thầy, dear beloved family, hello everyone. Today we have a chance to come together to participate in the Day of Mindfulness. And the topic for today's Dharma talk is Befriend with our fear. In each one of us, how many of us want to befriend with our fear? Raise your hand. Yes, wonderful, many of you. When we listen to about fear, then right away we see danger. And we usually have the tendency, one, to run away quickly. Two, we see that we can't run, then we need to find ways to resist it. And if we see that we are too weak to resist it, then we need to find ways to endure it. But if we endure for some time, then that ability is very limited. We can't endure it longer. Then we explode. And then that time, the person that deal with the suffering of fear is ourselves and the people around us. And when we don't know how to practice, and this is a way that we react to our fear. But if we know how to meditate, practice meditation and mindfulness, then we have another way, which is not violent, it's not fearful, and there's no suppression or oppression. And which way is it? So today we will discuss about that, reflect together. Now I'd like to invite a friend named Uyen to help me come up here to write on the board in Vietnamese and English. Who here has whatever fear? Please say it out so we can write it on the board. And we can write it down to see the different kinds of fear. Fear of death. Please say louder. The first one, fear of death, fear of abandonment. Anyone else? Please say louder, speak louder. Snake. Rattlesnake. Rough of you. What is your fear? Rejection. Sickness. Illness. What about on the other side? Cockroaches. Boredom. Oh, chán. Boredom. Not cockroaches, sorry, I didn't hear that. Lost in translation there. Poverty, loneliness, failure. Suffering. How come I don't hear any from the monastics? You don't have any more fear? Brother Đạt Nguyen, what is your fear? Fear of receiving questions? Fear of being judged? Sister Uyen Nghiem gave me the permission to add in whatever I want. Okay, public speaking. Yeah, that's... Old age. Gossiping. War, fear of war. Attachment, emotional attachment. He's afraid of someone falling in love with him. Good luck. Children's future. The children's future. Unlovable. AI. Artificial intelligence. Accident. Unlovable. Climate change. Climate crisis. Scared of singing. Fear of singing. I can sympathize with that. Hurting others. Becoming terrorized. Paralyzed. Earthquake in California. We're afraid of earthquake. Starvation. The board is almost filled up. Thank you so much, dear Sangha. Thank you, Uyen, for your help. When this year, this winter retreat, the theme of the Dharma talk, based on Thay's Dharma talk, when we met, this is a book, Fear. In the meeting, in my head, I will talk about O Path White Cloud, life of the Buddha, because there are many stories in there that I could share. But then Brother Pháp Dung already chose, and then Brother Mạn Tuệ spoke, step into freedom, and other monastics chose. And when it was my turn, I couldn't think of any. In my head, it was only O Path White Clouds. I was quite fearful, so I chose fear. And when I came home, I sat down to reflect. And the truth is, ever since I was born, we were born until we die, we are always bombarded with fear. But usually, we hardly stop to look deeply, and it consumes us a lot. And when I sat down and reflect, I also have a lot of fear. And when we look on the board, we're afraid of death. In Buddhism, this is the original fear. When we were born, cutting the umbilical cord that our mother nourished us, nurtured us for the first time in our life, we have to breathe on our own. And that was a time for us to decide to live or to die. Then when we were born, we were already afraid of dying, of death. And that fear stayed with us. And sometimes we're not aware of it. Then we're afraid of old age. We all look beautiful when we were young, with a lot of good health. And one day, after we brush our teeth and we no longer remember, did I just brush my teeth? And then we check our toothbrush and we saw that, oh, it's wet. Oh, this is an age. And this is a sign of old age. And one day we woke up, we stepped out of our bed, and our feet a bit stiff. The movements are no longer quickly or flexible. Then we are afraid. We're afraid that one day we are no longer able to take care of our own self. We need to depend on others. And what if I don't have children? Or what if my children live far away? Or what if I don't have children? Then we are fearful. We are fearful of death. There hasn't been a person who died and alive again to share with us what that is like. We are afraid, we are fearful of the unknown. What is the unclear? We don't know where we will be going. We are afraid of being judged. This society is a society, a lot of comparison, judgment, standards of beauty, good, success, failure. They traumatize us and we are afraid. We are afraid of being judged. We are afraid of rejection, abandonment. Perhaps when we were young, we were fearful, but we had protection from our loved ones, parents, caregivers. They were not able to listen to our fear, and that became as something that stayed with us. And as we get older, we fall in love. We share everything, our feelings, our time, our energy with the person we are in love. Then one day, that person left us, and we do not know why. Fear of abandonment, and that feeling is pretty intense, scary, very scary, not having a place of refuge. Afraid of public speaking because we're afraid of being judged. Here, we are fearful of failure. We like to do that. We wish to do it, but because of so many fears, can I do it? Am I good enough to do it? The things that we like, we want, but we don't dare to do it. Then we love this person, but we don't know if this person loves us. We don't dare to express our love. And when the opportunity passes, then we regret. The things that we wanted to do, we don't do. The person we love, we don't dare to say, and we lose that opportunity. Then, just like that, we are afraid, we are fearful of loneliness, of poverty. Let's see, what else? Discrimination, of not feeling belonging, isolation. Sometimes when we come to a group, it's not because we like this group. It's not because we want to participate in this story. If we don't come, then we're afraid. We don't feel belong in that group. We have the feeling of isolation. When I was young, when we were young, we would love to watch movies. In the movies, we want to go to, all the children would like to go in all groups. But as we get older, we are afraid of the feeling of invisible. If we go to that place and people don't see us, they don't recognize us, we always wanted to do something. We want to wear something, say something, manifest something in order for us to be seen, to be recognized. And that fear, it is very deep inside of us. There's another fear of change. I also have this fear. We like to be in our comfort zone, and we don't dare to overcome, to leave our comfort zone, to have to break out, to have a breakout. Because in that comfort zone, we feel so secure. We don't have to be afraid of failure. We are afraid of losing, lose our materials or our loved ones. Everywhere we go, we lock our doors, our cars. The society is not so secure, so we're afraid of losing because it's very difficult for us to buy these materials. Then once we lose them, we suffer. Imagine if after this Dharma talk, we lose a pair of new shoes we just purchased. I just say that, don't worry, your shoes will be here. No one will steal our shoes. But we have that worry. Our loved ones can be on a flight to Singapore or elsewhere, and we heard that in this hour of flight fell down, then we're afraid. We would thought to ourselves, is that the flight of our loved ones? We're afraid of losing our loved ones. And these are the fears that can consume our thinking. And there are things that we have fear. For example, we're afraid of roaches. How come other people don't have it, but we have it? Or blood, height, fearful of darkness. There are fears that we don't know its roots. Or like a mother is afraid of blood. And the children also have fear of blood. But there are moms who are not afraid of blood, but their child is afraid of blood. So fear makes us lose an important aspect of our life, and that is to desire our happiness, freedom. Freedom. When we have fear, we lose our freedom. And so when we were born, as we get mature, there are two qualities that we are taught. One is hard, solid, and flexible. Solid is for us to resolve conflicts or find ways to handle the situation. Let's say that you open a business, bubble tea business or tea drinking. We have 10 different other businesses that sell that similar product or cook pho. Then those who know the art, they can success more. Flexibility is the ability to live in harmony, to interact, when to go forward, when to go backward. So these two qualities, what do they bring us? First, they bring us financial security. When we have financial security, then we don't need to be dependent. We can eat whatever we like, or at least not to have deal with starvation. Or we can buy what we want, what we need. That is financial security, financial freedom. And another freedom that we need is religious freedom of speech. We also have ideas, views we all have about life. And we have the freedom to share and not to be so fearful. The third freedom is a freedom to choose. We have the right to choose what religion we want to practice, our profession, the friends that we want to get married, lifelong partner. We have the freedom to choose how we want to live our life. We want to live as a minimalist or want to live a luxurious life. And this is a lifestyle for each person. So fear is a mental state. We see the danger around us, and because we are able to recognize the danger, so we are able to fight or flight or freeze. And so together we can look into why we have so much fear. When I sat down to prepare this Dharma talk and reflected, I found it very interesting in how rich it is in my own mind, in my own consciousness. the cosmos, this world outside, is not bigger than what is in our mind. The first thing that we can recognize is that fear is a transmission from many generations because of the trauma, generational trauma, intergenerational trauma. Let us look at the Black community who have been through a very harsh history, kidnapped, exploited, and these traumas are still here. And the Black community, they suffer a lot. Even just a way that we say, the way we look, just even though no intention, but it can stir up fear and inferiority complex in this person. And any community that face war, genocide, like Israelis, whenever they hear danger, death, then that community is very fearful because we could be killed, we could be harmed anytime. And when we look at the community of that have been through war, poverty, starvation, like me, myself, as a Vietnamese, even though I did not live during the Vietnam War, but I could see it there. The scars, the traumas are there. During this peaceful time, we can still see the traumas in the Vietnamese people. Why Vietnamese people? When we go to Vietnamese homes, it's very easy for us to recognize many things. Like my mom would buy a lot at the store. Why do you need to buy this? And my mom say, "Oh, because they're on sale." This is because this fear of lacking, of not having enough, accumulate. We've been through a lot, and so it's very clear. And Vietnamese people, even Vietnamese people in the West, we came over as a boat person. We encountered a lot of difficulties. People say success is based on intelligence and diligence. Then for sure we can be successful. But when we are diligent, intelligent, but it's based on fear, then we are not able to enjoy the fruit because we will never feel enough. We have enough. And the next is the friends in the LGBTQIA plus community. We know that society has changed. The way that there's more openness. However, that fear of discrimination is still very deep in the past. When we talk about marriage between a man and a woman, there's a commitment with the mark, the approval of the government with this marriage license, then they're married. But now it's more open. It's the coming together of two people. However, there are people in society that they have fear. And the fear that I think that is clear, most clear, is like the view, certain view that society has set. And we can see this in ourselves. Our society is, we see comparison of people who are successful. This is how success is. And when we look at the successes of other people, then we bring comparison, our own quality. We weight our quality based on success. That's why we suffer. We have a lot of lack of peace, and now society praise beauty. Beauty, today's beauty standard, women's beauty. I don't know how it is in Europe, but in Asia, this one too. A beautiful woman is you have to be thin, white, and beauty standard. It's like traumatizes people. So we see that cosmetics are being sold massively, and we're afraid of fear, afraid of sickness. So when we go to Costco, When we go to Costco, we see this energy building, or good for our bone, our hair, our skin, and fear of loneliness. Many young people are lonely, so the app of looking for love is have many downloads. Fear of insecurity, so we go to see the psychic, predict a future. Is it true? We have a friend whose dad is going through some illness, and so they went to the psychic. And after going to see the psychic, they have more fear and fear of addiction. Addiction, when we completely depend on it. Alcohol addiction is a person that can be very kind, sweet, but if this person is addicted to alcohol, then this person can be very violent, hit their partner, their parents, their children. And this is the external addiction. But there's another addiction that we depend on. And if we do not know the way, if parents do not know the way when we love our children, when we take care of our own children, and our children are addicted to safety, whatever decisions the parents make are the best for them. So this child do not have their own independence in their own thinking, and so they completely depend on their own parents, from love to decision making. And so if whatever happened to the parents, then the children cannot survive, cannot live. And this is, we are dependent, addicted to dependency. And also in love, if we love this person and we don't know the way to take care of each other so that each person can have their own value, and we will create different ways for that person to totally depend on us, love us. We watch movie, we live and we die together. That is just embellishment. There's nothing good about it, because there's never for sure that we will be with that person forever. And so when we pass away, what will happen to that person? If that person dying, we die. No, that's not love. That is grasping. And so when we have fear like that, then it can affect our emotions, our actions, and our speech, our thinking. Whenever we are fearful, we have negative thinking and comparison, and our view is not so close to reality. For feelings, we felt lack of peace, anger. We have jealousy, complexes, and we often self-defense ourselves. And for our action, we don't have patience. We show that lack of confidence, and we are afraid to look directly at the other person. And with our speech, we blame, we try to avoid the situation, and we lie. If we're fearful, we tend to lie. And this is clearly, I see it. A story about a Denmark king, about this king who took off his clothes. This king does not really care about his people. He only had a passion. Every day, he need to change multiple clothes. And his people were very disappointed with him. Then one day, and these two people had this idea that this king is not really a warrior, someone smart, so we can fool him. So these two people say that, let us try to make a beautiful clothes and let him walk around the country and say, oh, you have beautiful clothes, and we make this beautiful fabric. And we heard that in this country, you like to wear beautiful clothes. So we come here and we want to let you know that we have this product, these beautiful fabrics, silk. And many people in the country spread this news. And when the king heard this, he was really happy. And he appointed his attendant to go and research more. And he said, okay, bring these two people into my kingdom. It doesn't matter how much it costs. And say to the king, please give me a period of time and we will try to complete this beautiful robe for you. And after that, he sent his attendants to check on, and these two designers, this fabric, it's not, it's very light fabric, and only smart people, intelligent people, truthful can see it. Those who are ignorant, selfish, they will never see the beauty of this fabric. And the king sent his attendant to check. The attendant came in, saw these two people, checked, but there's nothing. And these two people say, do you see it? Do you see the beauty of the mixture of colors? The green on the pink, this is the phoenix, this is the dragon here. And this attendant was very, very surprised and shocked. Am I that ignorant? If I say I don't see anything, then I recognize that I'm ignorant. And I pretend to say, he pretend to say, yes, it's beautiful. Then the two designers kept on praising how beautiful this is. Then this attendant tried to remember all these details to go report to the king. And when the king said, oh, I'm so eager, the next day, few more attendants to go and check on it. Then other attendants say, how come the other person say it's beautiful? And they pretend to say it's beautiful, and they report to the king. And the king could not handle anymore. And he asked, when will it be done? They say, this weekend. So the two people took this robe, and all the generals or the attendants say, oh, wow, this is the most beautiful robe. I've never seen anything like this. The king looked, and the king did not see anything. Oh, I'm a king and I'm that ignorant? No way. And I say, what do you think? Say, beautiful. Please wear it, my king. And the king put on this robe. And his attendants say, if it's so beautiful, then we will need to show to the villagers. And they will invite all this sound, and for the king to sit, for everybody to see. And everybody in the village had received this news. And all the people paid respect. And the king asked, how is my robe? And they say, oh, it's so beautiful. I've never seen anything like that. Nobody saw anything. But no one dared to say, we don't see anything. Because if we say it out, we'll be judged that we are ignorant. We are not smart. We are not honest. Then there was this child. And children, they don't lie. They did not understand. Oh, the king is not wearing anything. And everybody discuss, what do you see? And everybody say, what do you see? And they keep on discussing back and forth. Then there was this doubt. This is a story from Denmark. We laugh at these people, but we are also these people. Many times we lied because of fear, afraid people seeing our weaknesses. Our parents would teach us, do not lie. Lying is not good. But if someone if there's a guest coming and we don't want to greet them, and we tell our children, please let them know we're not home. And so fear, there's a fear on an individual level and a collective level. And so people come together and create all these laws so we feel more secure. Because whoever comes into our home without our consent, it affects our security, we can sue. Whoever took our things, we can sue for our security. But is that enough? What is the absolute freedom? That's not enough. So the question is, what can we do to really be free from our fear? This is a big question that 2,600 years ago, Siddhartha asked himself, the prince Siddhartha, and he himself looked for the answer, and he found an answer. there's a way, there's a path for us to overcome that fear. That is love. Isn't that strange? Compassion. How can compassion reconcile fear? So the root of compassion is love. Love is insight. Only insight, only that right view, insight, that can help us to overcome our suffering. Here, we have a brother named Man Tuệ. Man means completeness. Tuệ means insight. So if you have any difficulty, just go look for Brother Man Tuệ, the Qigong master. Please remember his name. And in love, when there's no understanding, then that love is just temporary emotions. We love, we hate, we're angry. We have, but if there's love, then there's acceptance, embrace. Thầy, he has a way of saying, if we want to overcome, if we want to get out of suffering, then the only way is, the way out is in. There's a way. That is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is an energy, a positive energy that has the ability to recognize what is happening in the body, the mind, the environment in this present moment. And to stop and to have mindfulness, then we need to have the ability to stop and look deeply. How do we stop? The Buddha said there's a way that we can all start, and that is your own breathing. Awareness of breathing. I always ask myself, why? Why do we choose the object as is breathing and not anything else? In the past, during the Buddha's time, there were people that asked him, in this life, how long is life? Some people respond, 100 years, 10 years, 1 month. The life of a person, the lifespan of a person is just in one breath. If we breathe in and we don't breathe out, then we die. Only those who die, they don't breathe. And when we breathe, it means we are still alive. Coming back to the breathing means to come back to life. Where is life? Life in our body. And now I'd like to invite the whole Sangha to come back to our breathing, to recognize that we are alive. When we all enter into this Ocean of Peace meditation hall, behind me, that's the centerpiece. We do not see the Buddha statue, but we will see 3 words: mindfulness, concentration, and insight. Smriti is mindfulness, Samadhi is concentration, Prajna is insight. And this is the key for us to overcome our fear. When we have powerful mindfulness energy, let's reframe it in a way where it's easier to understand. In Vietnamese, we borrow many words from Chinese language. So sometimes when we listen, we are not able to understand directly. English mindfulness, we understand right away. Nghiem is still quite vague, and we try to analyze what is chánh. Chánh means straight, right. And the opposite of that is not straight. Then Nghiem is on top. Is means the mind in this present moment. We have to do few explanations to understand what mindfulness is, and that can take a lot of process. We want to use words that once we say it, we understand. Nghiem means this awareness. When we are aware of our breathing, then it has the opportunity to come back to our body. Usually, we are caught that the body is a different than the mind, but in meditation, body and mind are one. The breathing, it is part of the body, and it helps to bring the mind back to the body. And they say like it's like an anchor, because usually our mind tends to wander when we're afraid. We're afraid of something, and that fear, that memory, will pull us far away. And so we are not really in the present moment. We are not present with this body in this moment. So when we practice with the light of mindfulness, we come back. The first object is to come back to our body, come back to our breathing, to listen to our body. And we listen to our body when we are stressful. Our body is quite tense, quite in pain. So we come back and relax our body. Relaxation is the first step to healing. There isn't a healing that does not require relaxation. So relaxation is very important. Come back to follow our breathing helps the body to be relaxed. And from there, we observe what is happening next in our mind. If it has some pain, then just simply we recognize it. We don't need to oppress it. We don't need to run away from it. Usually when we have a pain come up, we usually go find something to eat. Or we take out the phone to read some news, watch something. Because it's so irritating inside, we don't want to face with it. But with meditation, then we sit down and we recognize it. But usually they advises us that when we are new to the practice, let's not invite our suffering up yet. But first, we need to nourish our happiness. And so, in meditation, we need to come back, still the body, then cultivate happiness, gladdening the mind, cultivate joy. Sitting meditation, what's there to cultivate in the third or the fourth exercises of breathing? Cultivate joy or cultivate happiness. I just sit here. What's there to cultivate happiness? But the fact that we're sitting there is a great joy already. Because for many years we ran. We didn't dare to sit still because we were afraid of facing our difficulties. The fact that we're still healthy, to be able to sit. And next, in Buddhism, our mind is divided into two levels. The lower level is called as store consciousness. A background consciousness is able to hold many seeds: joy, happiness, fear, suffering. And in meditation, what can we do to touch the seeds of joy so that they can be stronger? That is called appropriate attention. We use our mind to touch those seeds and for that flower to bloom. And it can nourish our happiness. Every day we wake up. But when we wake up, we are aware that we are healthy, have the opportunity to do this and that, and we feel so happy. If we say, oh, I have to go to work today, I feel tired. But if we give it appropriate attention, then that joy will increase. And when there is suffering, we have this tendency to nourish happiness. So when suffering comes, we recognize it and we don't have any fear. It's easy for us to recognize the happiness and the suffering. When a fear comes up, we breathe with it and we accept it. Once we accept it as it is, that suffering or that fear is like a witch hiding, and it can come to us anytime. But when we sit down and look, oh, the face of this witch is very kind. It's not so fearful like we think. If we look and we breathe with peace, then our imagination is bigger than the reality. And when we look at our own thoughts or views, which views, which way of living, which way of consuming, nourishing or fear to be stronger, this is very important. The way that we live is very important. I had this experience when I was 17. At that time, I did not know anything about the practice. Even though I ordained at the age of 16 in different tradition, and the way that I was taught was different. I was so young and naive in my thinking to understand, to have this discernment of what to choose and what not to choose, to be selective. When I first entered the temple, I was very unskillful. I would break the lamp, the dishes, the bowls, and every time I broke this, I would get reprimandation. And I was taught that all the objects in the monastery, in the temple, they're very sacred. We need to cherish them like we protect our eyes. And if we destroy them, break them, then we will enter the hell realm. And every time I break something, I say, "Oi, I'm now entering another realm hell." And I learned back then that there were 18 realms of hell, and I was almost there. I was very afraid. And so that day, after school, my temple had a ceremony, and I helped to prepare the tables. And they were high, tall glasses to drink. And I put the sodas and put 10 cups, ice. And then I almost broke one glass, but I caught it on time. And right at that moment, for some reason, my heart was beating very fast. My hand was shaking. And I was shocked. I stopped and I asked myself, what is happening to me right now? It is only a cup. But why is it I am so fearful? What is happening to me? And I asked myself that question. And at that time, my heart was beating very fast and my hands were shaking. I stood there with that question. Where am I? What am I doing with my life? Before I became a monastic, I was so joyful. I broke so many things and I didn't fear anything about hell. And now I'm in the temple. I'm afraid of hell. I became a nun to find liberation and freedom, right? And in me, it was chaos inside. I put the ice in the glass, open the soda, fill it up, hold the cup. I want to look at my fear, the root of my fear. I threw it down to the floor. I still remember that sound. After that sound was a scream from the kitchen. And say, again? Another glass broken? After that, I went to get the broom, the dustpan to clean it up. And I heard the voice reminding, be careful and all of that. But at that time, I don't know why. I had such deep happiness and freedom. I don't understand. But I felt like all of this oppression of fear, when I held up that cup, I say, let's go to hell. I'm going to throw you down. And when I swept the broken glasses at that time, I thought, people would not be happy because that stubborn face was there. But at that time, there was this deep transformation inside. From that on, I didn't have any more fear. I no longer had fear. And a wonderful thing happened. I no longer broke anything. That fear, the fear of the way that from wrong education and wrong way of receiving, that fear can make us lose confidence and peace in us. And from that, we can fail many things. And so, when we have confidence and have freedom, then we are different. The way that we live is different. On the contrast, fear can make us lose the ability to receive love and give love, and also feel the happiness. Today, we talk about fear, so I want to share a story for you to be less fearful. When I was in Thailand visiting my home in Vietnam, my sister said to me, "Have you read the news lately?" I say, "I rarely read the news." And my sister say, "You should keep yourself updated. The situation in Vietnam is very different. It's very insecure, so be careful." So they opened my suitcase and they put garlic in my luggage, and I didn't know why they put garlic in my luggage. You don't know anything. There's a lot of robbery in Vietnam, so when you go back, be careful. And put garlic in my robe. I thought of visiting my home, my family. I had so much happiness. But when I heard all this news, I had all this fear coming up. I flew to Saigon and I went to Đắk Lắk. I took the bus and to see the landscape of Vietnam. And when we stopped for lunch, I did not go for lunch. I don't like to eat in public spaces. So I just prepare myself a little bit of food. And a man approached. This man just looked at me. Then doubt. Why is this person looking at me? If I look clearly, he was selling lottery tickets. But this person kept on looking at me and I didn't feel the peace. And so I saw him entering the restaurant. I was so happy. I went to another tree to avoid him. And when he came out, he looked at me again. And he went to the other side and looked at me. And I was so afraid. Is the news true? And he looked at me and he came toward me. He was skinny. He asked me, "Sister, how come you don't go inside to eat?" I said, "Oh, because I'm not hungry." He said, "There is vegetarian food in there, I know, but I'm okay here." And he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure." And he left. 5 minutes later, he came back. And I thought to myself, what is he doing? And he opened his bag, plastic bag. He gave me 30 đồng, which is equivalent to $1.50. He gave it to me and said, "Do you have money? Please go eat some soup. You look so thin." He thought I did not have money. He worried about me. I thought that he would do something to me. He also hesitated, said that I don't have much money, I only have this much. But if you need, you could go inside and eat something. Where do you live? You look so thin. Your robe is the color of your robe is eroding. At that time, I say, "Oh, dear uncle, I'm thin, but I'm very healthy. I have a lot of food. Please keep the money." And this was an experience that I experienced. So fear comes a lot from our imagination. And it prevents us from feeling the love, the beauty of life. And if we look at the way that we consume in our daily life, then we know where does this fear come from. Of course, there's fear in each one of us. But how come there are people who have more fear than others in the situation, the way that we consume? I don't know. When I was young, I would watch this, fighting series, movies, all these martial arts. The only purpose is for revenge. Just pay attention to it. This group against the other group, revenge after generation after generation. And then Korean dramas, Chinese drama, the fightings in the kingdom, they're all for the purpose of revenge. Modern movies, guns, violence, killing, revenge. So fear creates hatred and violence. Hatred and violence, anger, water the seed, and it creates this cycle that never ends. And why we practice compassion and love has the ability to transform, because the angle of love is understanding. In psychology, there's this image I really like: hot water and plastic cup. Hot water is needed in our life for tea, coffee in the winter. When we have hot water to drink, to take a shower, is a great happiness. Plastic cup is very convenient, very light, and it can help us to, we can use that to carry food different places, very comfortable, convenience. But if we pour hot water into this plastic cup, then this cup will be melted and we cannot drink the water. So when we love, we need to understand. When we understand, then we know the way to protect. Parents, caregivers, if we love our children, our descendants, then we need to understand them, what way of educating that they can receive. We love our partner, then we need to nourish what seeds in them and what seeds not to water, nourish in them. If we do not know the way, then our love will make our loved ones will be injured. Just like hot water pouring on plastic cup. Hot water is not bad, plastic cup is not bad, but they cannot go together. So we need to understand this. Fear is not only in human. When we look openly, don't think that we are the center of the universe or that our suffering is the main thing. But nature, animals, plants, minerals, they also have stress, difficulties. Now we look at the trees. They encounter a lot of difficulties. They have to overcome many days of storms, heat, in order for them to survive. The coyotes, they need to find food for them. They don't have a choice. In the morning or at night, they need to look for food. They often go hunting, and the rabbits, they have to hide. The deers, they have to hide. The tiger, we need to chase. They have a lot of difficulties and moments of stillness they don't have. So the animals, they are looking ways to survive, to protect themselves. The trees also. And so the humans as well. The difficulties that come to us, They're natural. They're part of life. Life is accumulation of what we, the advantage and the disadvantage. When they to our liking, then it makes us happy. But if not, then we need to practice to be with them. One time at YMCA, we sat together and I asked Brother Nghiem, I say, brother, if next life, if you're not a human, what would you like to be? You want to be the cloud, the mountain, squirrels, rabbits, stars, or the moon? And he thought a little bit and he said, I want to be a tree. And I say, tree? That's dangerous. Why? You just don't know. You see all the lightning strike on the trees? The trees have these lightning strikes. Not all trees become ancient from a seed with so much difficulties to have little plant, and then the worms, the insects would come. And some people wear shoes, step on them, and they would die. And the chicken would poke on them. I used to raise chicken, so I know that the chicken would like to eat these baby trees. Do you change your mind? Do you plan to change your mind? And Brother Nghiem thought a little bit and said, no. I have decided I will continue to be a tree. And I say, okay. I have decided to be a chicken. To eat the baby tree. And Brother Nghiem sat next to me and said, don't worry, I will be the eagle to eat the chicken so we could protect the tree. See how protective they are with one another? And so, this is what we talk about when we're together. We just talk things like this. It's a funny story, but we see clearly that in us, we have all the conditions, the seeds. Brother Nghiem, he wanted to challenge himself, want to accept danger. For me, the chicken represents fear. Brahmin deer represents courage, protection. And we all have this seed, but it depends on us what we choose. If we're afraid of chicken, then we won't be able to survive, to live. And any tree that can survive, because that tree accepts misfortunes and adapt and accept. And we need to learn to adapt to survive. The greatest gift we can offer to ourselves in Buddhism, like we call it, non-fear. And we want to get to that place, and we need to practice. There isn't anything that can just come. We need training. Train ourselves every day, and this training can be very simple. It starts with the in-breath and the out-breath. We breathe like this so that we can have the opportunity to come back. The powerful mindfulness energy is to help us to be present. And if we are not present, we cannot love. We cannot love ourselves. We cannot love those around us. How can we say we love this person if we're not there for them? There isn't a sadness that can be compared. It's when we sit with someone and they're not there. We talk to them and then they ask a question that is like out of the blue, nothing related to what we share, and we lose all of our interest. And so they say, there isn't a loss that is greater than the loss of being interested. And this boredom, We no longer want to build. We don't want to build a relationship when there's no presence, with no recognition. It's very sad, the presence of that person. Freedom in Buddhism is not whatever we want to do, we can do it. No. This is a freedom with irresponsibility. Freedom in Buddhism is a freedom that we have the ability to be the master and not be a victim. And so the greatest fear is to lose ourselves, lose that connection with ourselves, not knowing who we are and our life's purpose. Who are we? And we live for what? We sit here, we share, we listen, we learn, and we try. But perhaps in 100 years, 200 years, this place, it can be a piece of wild land. And we live and we have anger. But when we die, our loved ones, when we mention our names for just for some period, and then 3 or 4 generations later, our names become very foreign. So what do we live for? What do we live a life for? Isn't it because we live to feel life, to love, to transmit the love to one another? The way for us to transform our fear is to be present for ourselves, to recognize that what is it that led us to this fear? What conditions? Then we try to avoid them. For example, if we want to stop smoking and we continue to be with people who smoke, then there's no way we can. If we want to stop drinking and we continue to go to the bar, then how can we stop drinking? So fear, there's an individual fear, collective fear, happiness and peace too, collective and individual. If in a family something happened and everybody's fearful, but if we could come back to our breathing, calm down, not screaming, blaming, then we can help that energy in the family. Any one of us in here afraid of the presidential election coming up? Have you voted? It's coming, yeah, in less than 2 weeks. We know that before, during Trump and Biden, there are family members that supported Trump and others supported Biden. And because of these different views, then until now, with this new presidential election, there are people in the family, they don't look at each other, they don't talk to one another. And we ask ourselves, what is the outcome of the presidential election if we don't have peace and happiness? If we cannot listen to understand the different views in our family, we cannot look at the loved ones in our family, then the outcome of the presidential election doesn't mean anything in a family if we know how to build that peace, that happiness, that love. Accept different views, then we can create a community. In that community, there's a lot of peace and happiness. Even whatever the result is, there will be those who are happy and sad because our way of seeing things are different. But don't let that fear prevent our love in our family, also in our community. That is why when we come to Deer Park, we always encourage you that our view, our individual view is very small compared to the collective view. That's why, and our peace too. That's why we need to come to the Sangha community, a group of people that have the same aspiration on how to nourish our happiness and freedom. And so, the peace also can radiate If fear can radiate, so is peace. If we choose peace, then come and be with people who are in that direction. Is there meaning in life? And it depends on us. I want to give an example. The Plum Village tradition, when we listen to the sound of the bell, it does not discriminate what we are doing, who we are. Even if we are thầy, lay friends, we all stop. We stop to come back to our breathing, to nourish our body and our mind. And in Plum Village, we practice this. So the bell, it's just the sound of the bell. But because we want to use the bell to give the bell its power, the voice of the Buddha, the voice of the present moment. And so we recognize the sound of the bell. It's a law, and we accept voluntarily to help us. It's a condition to help us to nourish our body and mind and become sacred. And so our life is the same. We live for what? If we choose to live, to enjoy life, to love, to serve, to offer, then that is the meaning of our life. Life is life. Even if we recognize it or not, society continues to flow, time will pass. Morning, sunrise, night, sunset. This is a natural process of life. Do we want to live meaningfully or not? That is up to us. Depends on our appropriate attention, what we choose. And so, happiness and freedom depends on our way of looking, thinking. Time is almost end. This topic, so many things to cover. So before I end, I want to share that I read an article. It left something in me that's very sweet. There was this gentleman driving to work, and he said, I don't like to be late. And so on the way, there was this car driving very slowly, and he became irritated, honk. But that car, it did not affect, continued to drive slowly, and he became irritated, but he looked closely. He saw a sticker on the car that say, I am someone who is special needs. Please be patient. And then right away, he changed his way. And suddenly, from irritation to love. To see someone with special needs, he had compassion. He drove more slowly. Not only he loved, but he wanted to protect that person, protect that car. And being late to go to work is no longer important. And so, while he had a chance to drive slowly, he observed. And he recognized that. Why is it that when we see someone has this sticker, then right away we love this person and we want to protect this person? But when we see a sticker on someone, then we love. He looked around, people walking. If they wear a sticker, I had a divorce, I have cancer, or one of my loved ones recently passed, then we will treat that person with kindness and gentleness. But in life, not everybody wears the sticker, but inside, we all have a story that perhaps we don't know. So as practitioner, we need to slow down. If not, we can lose that opportunity to offer love. And if we rush, then we can hurt the other person and not being aware of it. There are people that look very joyful, love life, It doesn't mean that they don't have hurt or wounds. And so when we see this, then we can offer our love. In conclusion, wherever on this earth that has freedom and safety, where in this world that has freedom and safety? So quiet in the meditation hall. Yes, our breathing. There's no danger. We're afraid of earthquake. If there's an earthquake happening right now, we just breathe. Where can we run? So if we die in moment of peace in our mind. And so when we are fearful, come back to our breathing. That is a place of peace for us, a peaceful place for us. When the Buddha entered Nirvana, about to pass away, he say, light up your own torch and go. The teachings, the practices that he created, that's the path. Thầy say, don't look for me. Come back to your breathing, into your steps, and you will find me. And so any of us, we are living, we are breathing, and we just need to come back to our breathing. Then we come back to life, and we can overcome our difficulties. Trịnh Công Sơn, a famous Vietnamese songwriter, I don't know which song. Perhaps it's a công an for us. The song, how do you know the life stories of this individual so that we can love more deeply? We all have our own life. How do we know? Then we need to slow down and look deeply, to be present. Then we can love that person with more compassion and deeply. And we can have more happiness if we know how to love. Time has ended. Thank you so much, dear Sangha, for your patience and listening to me, so we can reflect together into the suffering. I know that the list can be longer. We already have a path. Now we don't have any more fear. Thank you for your listening.